everybody, Good Buddy Q here with...
Lubo!
Yeah, more Bad God! Woo!
I would assume so.
Yeah, or else this title would be an absolute lie. We got some more stories today, more events. And this one starts to go a bit of a down slope. We start up with something really sad. But more Tavera, though. That's always good. Not good that it's sad, though. So, basically, this takes place, by the way, for those who know what Gift is, Gift takes place around before the Mochis were founded and stuff like that, so it was during while Tavera was trying to get, his attention. And that was the event that actually started off with, Nevo starting to realize, maybe I should really consider him for maybe more responsibilities. He is the eldest child, after all. And he's been the closest with me, and again, trying to emulate me, trying to be part of me. He's been seeing me at my most, so maybe he should be properly my heir. So he's like, okay, sure, I'm going to publicly announce that and also the public does not know about the lamb's existence. Whatever they saw of Tavera before the walls went up were many years ago. Probably people have forgotten about this child by then. Even by then, they might have assumed that he was someone else's child. So he decides to announce it in a public place in Europe, for a big hubbub of broadcasting and stuff like that. So that gets all figured out. Mikhail gets a new uniform. He's, gonna be able to go outside. They decide to instead of just warping there, like he can probably do, or fast traveling, they decide to go by train so they can see all the sights outside that he hasn't really been able to see before. And he's so excited. Around this time, he's about, 8. So he's a little bit older, and he's just so excited and happy, and he's just with father, and he's got a new uniform, and he looks all princely and stuff, and it's just so cool. New sights, new sounds, new people. There's people everywhere. It's cool. Everything's awesome. Whoa! So they're at the ceremony, to proclaim him as the heir, and that's also where he get his world brooch from. That looks like Nevo's. And it's just so great, so happy, goes off without a hitch. People seem to love him, and it's fantastic. Everything seems to go perfectly well. Until they start to head back to the train station. Not all the people like Nevo. Not everyone just kind of rolled over and just let it happen. An assassination attempt happens. Though it misses Nevo because they're traveling by car. It hits Tavera instead, and takes off the lower fourth of his jaw. It's not pretty.
No, as we see in the picture, it's basically from his cheekbone down to his chin. The bullet took off the bottom quarter of his face. And he kind of panics. He's an infant. He's a child. He doesn't have any reference of, frame of reference for this, as a nation or as a person. Because as a nation, he would have been mutilated or maimed at some point in his life, and he'd understand what these feelings and this pain was. But no, this is brand new to him. He's never been hurt on a level like this. So, there's the pain from the bullet and his raw flesh, but there's also bone knitting itself back together. There's teeth regrowing and shoving themselves back into raw bone, and pieces of his flesh trying to mold themselves and stick back together like ropes of cheese. It's kind of overwhelming for him, and he's screaming and crying. It's a mess.
Nevo's freaking out as well, because someone just tried to fucking kill his kid, most likely by accident, but holy shit. Especially since he's kind of had a history, because someone also in his past that he loved dearly was killed by an assassination attempt right near him. So this is also bringing up uncomfortable, old wounds. Along with that, he almost transforms right then and there to go after the shooter, but hearing Tavera just scream and yell and just cry, he can't bring himself to explode like he usually does, and he just holds him close and takes him to somewhere safe so he can regenerate properly and try to help the process along. And this is the first time he's ever really seen it in action. Like, he knows about the regeneration thing, he's been taught all about it, but this is the first time he's seen it happen in person, and it's kind of a weird experience. And just trying to keep him calm and really shakes him up. By the time they get back, Tver's fully regenerated and just tired at this point, and kind of shaken up and spooked. So he gets put to bed, and Nevo does his best to keep calm and collected during it. But when he finally gets back to his study, he's just shaken, disheveled. He pretty much really on edge. And Vanya notices too, and he's like, "You okay?" And Nevo told him what happened, and he was just kind of broke down crying right there of just the stress of it, because not only was it really scary of just having an assassination attempt happen again, well, it happened in his lifetime at least, but he almost lost his son. And he never really realized how connected he was and how much he really cared for him, because he did in the past, but since he was distracted by the other lambs, he hadn't really thought about it. But this really brought it back up, and he was frightened. Like, he didn't think the regeneration would happen, because he wouldn't know what would have happened if he didn't regenerate, and if that didn't work. And this is the first time Vanya's actually seen him cry at all in front of him. He just showed him massive weakness, because, it really spooked him. And he's pretty sure that humans are still the scum of the earth. They have not changed since he arrived there. And it's not very good, and Vanya's like, not all humans are like that. And, it's not very good.
No, it kind of teaches Nevo a lesson. All that time has passed, but he still cares really deeply about that kid. And not all human beings are going to like him. So he's starting to realize that maybe the Lamb Project isn't going as well as he'd like. Though, in relation to other human beings, years and years later, Tver gets comfortable enough again to follow Nevo around at his work. And Nevo shows him what he does for his job. A long time, he decides, I'm gonna show you something special. You're not allowed to tell Papa about it, though. Don't tell your mom! I'm not your mother!
Close enough. Don't hiss.
Yes. He brings Tver to a village. There's a big festival going on. Both of them are celebrated as guests of honor. And Tver's thrilled. Things are going well again. He isn't getting shot at. This is great. While he's there, he's probably stuffing his face with a whole lot of really good food and having a good time. He meets a girl there, about his age, who looks kind of frightened and pale, and he asks what's wrong. She mentions she's the human sacrifice for the festival tomorrow, and Tver is deeply unsettled. Understandably so. It's not till after the festival, at least that day's festivities, he asks what the hell this is all about. Nevo explains that this is the village's way of giving them an offering, a gift, as it were. That's something he hasn't heard of, so why not? And Tver goes to bed really upset at him for letting such a thing happen. In the morning is the ritual, and the young girl is presented to them as a proper sacrifice. Nevo says he accepts it, and Tver throws down. He ain't having this shit. And he shrieks that food could be given instead. Wheat. Anything else. A million other things could work, but not this. Not a human life. Because they're made of humans. You can't do that. Nevo looks at him for a while. He's real proud. Because thus far, this kid is the only one that's willing to stand up to him. At least argue in his face like this. Openly defy him. The last time he got a taste of anything like this was when he was stuck trying to take care of the lambs by himself. And all of that was just playful teasing stuff. And nothing like this. And he proclaims, yeah, he's right. This kid, he's speaking virtuous words of mercy, and he tries to frame it as this great big test of his moral mettle. He accepts their sacrifice, but as a helper in his kingdom back home instead. He was planning to do so anyway, since that's what he's been mostly doing for the part, unless they were heinous criminals, in which case, yeah, hack them off. But if made fair feel important, why not?
Yep. Now this one's a bit of a filler episode, as it were. Not the human sacrifice, well, that technically is a filler episode too, but has some good stuff in it. But Nevo and Vanya go to Home Depot. It sounds just as cracky as it is. Just a slice-of-life filler episode of... As you might have heard in one of the first episodes, they get into arguments about Nevo's hair constantly. Vanya's pretty sure it's pink. Nevo still says it's a pale red. And so they're like, fine, sure, whatever. So they decide to go to Home Depot, which exists because it's in 50s, 60s. So,
Home Depot exists. Don't question it.
Yeah. It's an AU, shut up. So they go there, they discuss potting soil and long hair like civil adults for once in their lives. They go to the paint area and get out like 5 swatches each to put against Nevo's hair to say if it's pink or if it's pale red or some sort of thing like that. And then they buy a single hammer and then leave to go home. That's it. Nothing else happens.
It was kind of a cracky thing, yes, but it was named specifically to be a play on all those really weird fanfics that have really innocent, kind of gentle-sounding names where normal crap happens, but inside it's just depraved crap.
Like Kawaii Yaoi for the Homestuck fandom. Ugh.
Or Dipper Goes to Taco Bell. Or Cloud Mows the Lawn.
Yup.
And then there's Cupcakes for everybody, for other, in another
MLP.
fandom. Yeah. All of those have normal sounding, even innocuous sounding titles, and there is just horrible things hidden within.
Episode
And in this
23.5.
Yeah. In this case, it's literally just, they go to Home Depot, they bitch about hair color, they talk about potting soil, buy a hammer, and leave.
Surprise. Nothing bad happens. For once.
Yep, nothing bad happens. Also, it's pink.
Pale red.
Pink.
Pale red.
It is pink!
Red!
Look at this! It is bubblegum pink!
No, it's a pale red.
Look at this swatch!
Look at this swatch!
Oh, look at that!
And then it just continues from there.
Yes. These two are very, they have a lot to not get along over, but at this point in the game, they're kind of not at each other's throats 24/7. They've formed this weird sort of back and forth bond. It's hard to describe.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of, them going at each other.
The confrontation. Eventually, some of the lambs start getting memories back of their past, as what Vanya was trying to do all along. Slowly but surely, some of the things around them are triggering memories. Alfred seems to get his memories of modern day the soonest, and Nevo begins to panic. Because this kid is actually kind of terrified of him now, and is very, very leery of him. I mean, beforehand he was, but not to this degree. So, Nevo starts to sedate him, so he isn't quite as reactive, and Vanya notices the change in him, and when he finally susses the truth out of him, he gets pissed. That's not okay. That is not okay. He tries to confront Nevo about this, and Nevo just isn't in a good place for confrontation. He's already kind of mentally strained as is because of what's going on with Alfred, so he tries to walk away from it. Vanya refuses to let him go, and Nevo snaps. He's screaming, he's yelling, his head's twisting around 180 degrees. He transforms, and his jaw snaps out, And there are lambs here witnessing this. And they all huddle up behind the old man. And he starts to scream at him, what's the whole point of this project if all of them are going to remember him and hate him for what he did to them? And what's the point of keeping them around if they hate him? So, it might be better to just kill them all and start all over again. Vanya steps the fuck up and yells right back that he made a promise not to abandon any of them at the start of this project. He got himself into this. Now be a decent father and repent for what he did. Nevo just shrieks, because he's technically right, and he scares the living daylights out of them all, and he fucking bamfs out. He doesn't come back for a few days because he's out taking out his anger and his frustration on anything nearby. Fun is still understandably upset, because now he has a bunch of absolutely terrified lambs to corral. And when Nevo finally comes back, disheveled as he is, he apologizes properly. Yes, of course, he's still concerned that they're going to hate him, but at this point, Vanya says they're just going to figure it out one way or another. And Nevo reluctantly decides to continue the project and not sedate anyone anymore. It's not the last time that they're going to have a confrontation like this. This is probably the one that ends the best.
Yeah.
Outside of him playing basically fetch.
Yeah.
That happens. But after that event, thankfully there's some levity.
Yeah, a little bit of levity. You even got some fan art too. But basically, what happened was afterwards, obviously, the lambs are kind of scared of him because he was a giant monster and was really scary and was yelling about killing them all. And that's kind of spooky to the young kiddos. And he got really distraught over them because he's already still stressed enough that they're going to hate me. It's like, oh god, now they're going to hate me even more, even beforehand, even if they don't even remember me yet. Ugh. And he just gets really sad and just kind of dejected. And Mikhail of all of them is the one to really go to him about it, because he's father. He still loves him no matter what, even if he gets spooked. It's not the first time he's seen it. And he goes to him to see if he's okay, and Neville's just really sad. It's just like, they're scared of me. I don't know what to do. Nothing I do seem to be working at all. They just keep stepping away from me and just keep flinching. And Farrah's like, well, maybe we can show them that you're not scary. And he's like, I don't know how. And it's like, if you're a monster, I will tame you and show you that you are okay. So one day, a couple days after, they convinced Vanya to go get something from the vault, like something like, can you get a certain music thing to listen to? And he's like, sure, why not? This keeps happening. So he leaves, and so Tavera sneaks all the lambs out to go to the ballroom, because that's the biggest room, so Nevo can fully transform. And there's Nevo there, and they're kind of, And then Nevo transforms, and they're kind of, But Tavera goes over, throws a rope around him, and he is like, look, I have tamed him. He is a docile beast now. He only does what I say, and he is not going to hurt or eat anybody. And lambs are like, bullshit. Except they don't say that because they're children. And he's like, no, it's true, watch. Sit. He just like, sits. He's like, lay down. Lays down. Roll over. Stares at him. Roll over. He rolls over. See? He's okay. And they're like, I don't know. But Philly, of all of them, goes over while he's still laying down. And it's like, ooh, his mane's soft. It's so soft, and then he falls in. And they're just like, no. Goes over to fish him out. And so the lambs slowly start to go over and start to pet him and look over his mane and stuff. And his paws. Tavera's just standing there all proudly like, yes, I have saved you all. I am the savior of the lambs. Praise me. And Arthur's just standing there and is like, you didn't rescue me. And meanwhile, Nevo just kind of looks at him, brings up his big old paw, and is just slowly descending it down over Arthur. And Tver goes over and just slowly pulls him out of the way before the paw just gently goes to the ground. He's like, "There, I saved you, praise me." Meanwhile, Vanya finally realizes the kids are gone, and is kind of freaked out. He goes around to find out where they went, finds Nevo transformed, and proceeds to freak the fuck out. Maybe baps him on the nose with his somnia, maybe.
Whap, 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 whap.
It's like, they're like, "Wait, no, stop, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Isn't he hurting you?" And he's like, "No, he's just kind of sitting here." And Tver's like, I tamed him. I did it. And it's like, "Oh.
I'm so proud of you."
Yeah. He's like, "So, being defeated by kids, huh?" And Nevo's like, "Yeah."
And it helps kind of give the lamb some faith back in Nevo.
Yeah. And kind of show that, yeah, they don't hate him as much as he thought they would. Which is good.
Also gives Tver an opportunity to be an actual bigger brother.
Yay! Oh boy, now we talked a lot about, Mikhail and Nevo's relationship. Let's talk about Vanya's and Nevo's.
Do I really gotta say this?
Say my name! Bam.
Thank you. I didn't have to say it.
Yes. That's the name of this event.
Yes, say my name! No. You got to earn it. Oh! So... For years and years and years, they've been at each other's throats. Decades. Almost like a century and a half, they've been at each other's throats. And years of brooding and bickering, offset by amiable, almost friendly behavior between the only two adults in the compound, brews some really intense tension between the two. Holy shit. So, after an argument about the lambs, because when is it not, let's be honest here, what started as a verbal argument starts to evolve into the two becoming sort of physically confronting each other, and things go south pretty quickly, literally and figuratively. The tension just sort of snapped, and it became stress relief. There's a lot of biting, a lot of teeth, and stress relief becomes their phrase for it, because neither of them wants to admit that they might actually be developing feelings for the other.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, particularly Vanya. I can't imagine that he'd be willing to admit such things. Nevo, later on, maybe.
Yeah.
At the Vanya, no.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. This unfortunately kind of leads into a semi-agreement between the two. It's like, they both need... That's all this is.
Yeah, just need some stress relief.
Almost a friends with benefits thing.
Yeah, friends with benefits. That also leads into the next thing, that the stress relief kind of brings them closer to talking about their pasts with each other. Well, not with each other, but just their pasts in general. Bit of the prince and the knight sort of situation. And, because during one time, Nevo's feeling really low, like, something's up. And Vanya's like, is there something I can do? And Nevo asks if he can say a few words in his own language to him, like really specific things. And Vanya's like, okay, that's oddly specific, why? And this leads into a conversation of Nevo's old feelings for his old king, the king that was going to be before, before he became the Nightmare King. But this king, who apparently looks a lot like Vanya, was assassinated on the day of his coronation, so they were never able to be together. Well, romantically. So if he could just get some closure, that might help. Vanya gets it, so he does as he's asked, on the condition that Nivo never ever tries to do the same for him. And Nivo's like, "What? Why? That's kind of odd. I can't do anything back for you." And he tells him about... Well, Vanya tells him about the Teutonic Knight that he knew as a teenager, albeit very vaguely. And about all that unrequited relations with that, because, yeah, they got together once, but then he died. So that was kind of bad. And it turns into a week-long funk for Vanya when he thinks about it, because he's just listless, he's agreeing with everything that he says, he has very little fight with him. And Nevil's really worried, because he's used to him, like, almost arguing everything with him. But this is really concerning, because he's not really acting like himself, and he's just sad all the time, and there's not really any way to snap him out of it, other than just being a shoulder to lean on. So in the end, he finally just kind of gives up on trying. He just goes over, gives him a legitimate kiss for goodnight, and then leaves. Vanya pauses for a while, and then he's like, "Wait, what the fuck was that? Was that something legitimate? Weird." And so when Nivo comes back, you know, because Vanya went to bed before him, because Nivo's got work to do. So when Nivo goes back into his own room, Vanya's already in the bed, but on Nivo's side of the bed. And it just kind of clicks with the two of them after that, that it's kind of really lonely when the only other adult remotely like you is barely on speaking terms for the last 200 years. So they really started to share a bed together and just be more closer to each other, if not for just stress relief, just companionship. He's sad. But they do start to get together-ish.
They needed the companionship more than just stress relief. The stress relief was sort of a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, at this point, they're kind of in it for at least outwardly the same reasons.
Yeah. So a little less friends with benefits sort of thing, and more... has more feeling behind it, but not as much as developing not as much as outward feelings and stuff, just it feels closer.
Not that it has much time to develop, at least not in the long run. 'Cause this is where things start to come to an end.
And this is a good place to stop for the episode too. So the next time, we get the end of the events, but the biggest events, the huge downslope, the rebellion. Oof, oof. It's some heavy stuff.
Thank you, Lavino.
Yes.
You started it.
Ha 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 ha.
You get to be the big damn hero.
About fucking time.
You saved the world once, now can you do it again?
Yes. I saved it from aliens twice.
Yes, actually.
Hooray! Anyway, yeah, so that will be for next time. So have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Say my name.